Hello and welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. First week of winter here in Australia. Some good crisp mornings and some sunshine during the day, which is great up here in Queensland. Also topped by the state of origin wind from Queensland last week. So everyone's pretty upbeat here north of the border. Let's have a look to see what's happening in the dairy industry. Let's start off with full cream milk powder. So last night we saw a bit of a dip in the GDT of 3%. Interesting to note that on GDT, whole milk powder has been trading within about a $300 US band since the start of the calendar year. So it's been relatively steady and balanced in supply and demand. In terms of an outlook, we're shaping up to see a relatively good start to the New Zealand season, so supply should be healthy. Southeast Asia were big buyers last night on the auction. North Asia still reasonably quiet compared to the last couple of years. So yeah, we anticipate there to be probably a bit more consistency in pricing, less volatility over the next 3 to 6 months. Having a look at skim milk powder, yeah, not a lot to commentate on skim. Still a relatively flat market, as mentioned before, in terms of the consistency of pricing there with whole milk. Skim has been trading within a sort of 150 to 200 US dollar a tonne band since September of last year. So it really is quite a flat line in terms of the market, and for an outlook for the next 3 to 6 months, we probably anticipate things to be a similar story, a balanced supply and demand, and no real indication of either up or down in the market. Having a look at butterfat now, if we break it up into the regions, US demand still well balanced, pricing firm. In the EU, we've seen a bit of price recovery there. Some retail demand picking up over in the EU, which is meaning price has recovered from a bit of a dip over the last 2 to 3 months. If we move across to Australia and NZ, in New Zealand we saw a positive result on the GDT last night. Some real heavy demand for butter in July, August, so which may mean people sort of keeping themselves short or leaving themselves short, needing some real short-term product. Therefore, we saw a 7% increase in July, 4% in August. So after that, from September onwards, we saw a real taper off, which really did average down that GDT price. So yeah, in terms of an outlook or a medium to long term for Kiwi butter and Australian, yeah, it's still a bit questionable and hard to read some real market direction. However, it is the best performing of the commodities at the moment. Having a look at cheese, so if we once again split it up globally, in the EU we're seeing a good price recovery on cheese, on Gouda and mozzarella. We've seen a real uptick when it really did drop into the doldrums there at the start of the calendar year. So positive result there, and things looking a lot more upbeat in that region on cheese pricing. In the US, it's been a bit choppy. You know, we've seen a fair bit of volatility over the last 3 months. Hard to pick any real market direction. We saw pricing come back in the last month, but we've seen some recovery since then. So yeah, milk is healthy in the US, so I would assume that there won't be any problem on the supply side. However, demand has been a bit tricky to read. If you're having a look at Australia and New Zealand, Australian cheese still relatively tight. In New Zealand, we saw an interesting result last night on GDT, very much skewed with a 27% uplift in price for July. So yeah, it may have skewed things a bit out of whack. However, for a short to medium term outlook, cheese seems relatively firm, but with no real market direction. Finishing off with whey, lactose, yeah, still the most bearish of the commodities at the moment. We haven't really seen anything that's driving pricing north. Still very much at the bottom of the 5-year averages for both those commodities. In the protein side of things, we did see PC hit a bit of a bottom and a bit of an uptick on the way up. Whey WPI or isolate has been a little firmer in terms of an outlook. Bit hard to read, but we probably will see it plateau for the next short term. Thanks very much for listening to Inside Track. In summary, with the last 6 months or the start of the calendar year in review, it has been quite stable in pricing after the previous 2 years of insanity. So yeah, a lot of commodities sort of trading within a $300 US band on the GDT. So yeah, we don't really see any real market direction up or down. So it'll be an interesting 3 to 6 months ahead of us. See you again in a fortnight's time.